Grand Rising family, it's Shay Seeking, and welcome back to another episode or portion of This Is Not Your Mama's Bible Study with a little bit of his storyline. So, okay, I've been taking a little break and I've come back, and I think I just want to take a little bit of time to go back into some of Genesis because you guys know that's where I usually stay. I just feel like if we can go ahead and open up your minds to Genesis, then it can carry you through the rest of the text. So there was a couple of terms that were on my mind, such as till, Saracens, heathens, and things like this that I've been kind of researching after looking into the text and running into these terms. Um, so we're going to go ahead and just start at Genesis 1. And then go in just a little bit, just to till we get to a couple of these terms so we can break them down and see actually what's going on. Oh yeah, another one is host. I have to make note of that one that I want to look into. Pertaining to like the Lord of hosts. Okay, so we know that in Genesis 1, lots of people have been manipulated, I feel, into thinking that we're talking about actual plants and animals. But if you've been on this channel, you already know that we're looking at this in a literal sense. So we can get a tangible grip on what's actually probably going on here. So again, we've already done the etymology, and we can see clearly that we're not talking about God hanging any sun in the sky or any moon, that we're actually talking about things that are symbolic for something else. Okay, you'll have to go back into a couple of the other videos about Genesis to see kind of where I'm coming from, because we're just going to keep on moving on here. But we already know that he began when Genesis starts off, when God began creating the heavens and the earth. Okay, and that the earth was void and darkness was on the face of the deep. Okay, we know what that represents on this channel, or what we're trying to portray on this channel. Okay, then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and then he divided the light from the dark. Just a rundown of Genesis 1 is what we're doing here. Let the vapors separate, okay, and the waters above, the waters below, second day. And then the water beneath the sky gathered in the oceans, okay, and then let the earth burst forth every sort of grass and seed-bearing plant, and fruit trees with seeds inside the fruit. Now, this is very important to know that we're talking about people here, and these fruits represent fruit of the loins, if you might want to say, and they represent the strange fruits that started to come from the trees from here in the Americas. Because again, if you're on this channel, you'll know that we have plenty of evidence or so-called proof to give to you guys that it has been said that the so-called Negro is primitive to most races anyhow, and especially when we're talking about the Americas. Okay, so again, these fruits and with the seed within would represent breeding. Okay, like we're going to go on some of these other terms that we're going to see this. It's talking about breeding, not animals and plants, but actual people. Okay, and some of these terms are used in a symbolic way. Okay, so let's see, the bright lights, we already talked about that. And then this is when God also set these things in the sky so that they can preside. Now, we already know from looking at preside is to we can go ahead and use preside or president, which we do have one of those. And then this is the person that he wanted to plant in the east of the garden, which where our so-called president resides in this land here, if you want to call this a form of a garden. And then he set them in the sky. That's the heavens. And again, the heavens is just the abode of God or the house of God, and it is in an elevated status, which again doesn't mean that it's necessarily in the sky, but it is risen above the earth, or the indigenous or aboriginal people that are, or the inhabitants of the land. And you know, a lot of this text is going to kind of show us that. Okay, so let's see. And then he created the great sea creatures, which I feel are representing boats or ships. And then he told them to stock the ocean with every fish and fowl of their kind, and stock the ocean. He told them, and to the birds, he said, let your numbers increase and fill the earth. Again, we're talking about breeding, and we're talking about amalgamation, and we're talking about mixing with other people. God would not have to tell plants and soil and all these things to do this. He would just plant the things, and this is what would happen. Okay, so every kind of animal represents foreign entities or peoples. Again, now he wants to let us make a man, someone like ourselves, to be the master of all life upon the earth. That means all inhabitants upon the earth, or offspring of the earth, or guests, or aliens that have come, and they are they are residing with those people, okay, in order to breed or to do whatever they need to do in order to overpower and subdue the earth eventually. Okay, so he made them like his maker. Okay, male and he made okay, the man and maiden did he make them. Okay, now again, on this channel we're thinking, could we be talking about androgynous beings? And then he told them to multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. You are the masters of all the fish and the birds and all the animals, and look, I have given you every seed bearing plant. Okay, so we've already did that, and that ended the 6th day. So now we're in Genesis 2, and I have it on the screen right here because we're going to just look at a couple terms of what the concordance says. Okay, so this says the 7th day, thus the heavens and the earth were completed in their vast array. So these are the people that were in the heavens and in the earth in their vast array. Okay, my Bible here says, now at last the heavens and the earth were successfully completed with all that they contained. So again, pretty similar as to what it's saying. So we're going to go ahead and look at this vast array. What's the array? Because an array of things will be like a selection, or like yeah, multiple selections or multiple something components of it, I would think. So let's just go ahead and look at this and what this concordance or whatever this thing is going to tell us. So it says, okay. So it says the Tisaba, I don't know, an army. Okay, so again, we're talking about God, we're talking about peace, we're talking about love, we're talking about all this stuff. And basically this God from Genesis 1 has just come and found, we'll just break it up to how we're going to use the terms on this channel. This God began creating heavens and the earth. The earth was first shapeless and a chaotic mass, meaning that it was not subduing and submissive. It was just a mass of darkness in what they did, okay? And the Spirit of God was brooding over the vapors. Again, this is us talking about them watching over and seeing how to access or to infiltrate, okay? Now, so we're talking about this guy coming and seeing a whole bunch of niggers, okay, on a landmass, okay, because they couldn't believe what they were seeing. They couldn't believe their eyes. They, first of all, we're not talking about the first day through the 7th day here. We're actually talking about the year 1000 all the way up until the 1700s, okay. So again, and then he said that he wanted to create light, so that's what he did. He brought some people here, and they seeded, or even we call them you can look at it as seamen, came and used their semen in order to rape their way into having some kind of ties with the land. Later on, $5 Indians. Later on, us willing to and participating in doing it ourselves. Okay. So again, the people cannot be to blame if they don't know, and this is why we're saying this. I'm not doing these videos to install hate or anything, and I'm just bringing the points forward. Okay. So when he saw this, he wanted there to be lightness there, and then he did that. Okay. And then at the same time he's doing this, now he wants to create a different variety of these fruits and seeds and all this other stuff. Okay, so he wants to make subgroups or sub races. Okay, and then he wanted to. He was getting ready to set something up to preside over it. Again, what does our president do? Okay, and then he wants them to increase and fill the sea creatures, which are just boats, in my opinion, to bring other individuals from different foreign lands, foreign entities over here to this land so that they will be able to do these things. And we're going to see if all of this stuff adds up with etymology and history. Okay. So now they have every kind here, and then they make a man like them. So I'm thinking this is like a war. The fact that we're already looking at this term and it's in Genesis 2 and 1, and we're actually talking about army or war or warfare. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and look at when the first actual major war was here in the Americas. Okay. So plants, animals, and birds for their food. Okay, so it's for their subsistence or for their development of some kind. Okay, and God looked over at them in an excellent way. And okay, so we just went over actually what was going on. Niggas was here. Okay, then somebody came over here to check the place out. They was uh like Columbus kind of did. He came, I think, 2 or 3 times before he actually really was able to penetrate the land. Okay, a part of the Americas. Okay, not necessarily North America. Okay, so okay, and we know that after that happened, then we would have a lot of warring and a lot of fighting and things like this. Okay, so now that those 7 days is over and God is able to rest because of all that He did, now they're able to let the games begin. Okay, so again, army, war, warfare. Okay, is what we're talking about in Genesis here. Okay, armies, army, battle, combat, conflict, forced to labor. Again, slavery or prisoners of war, because this is what they were able to do to the people, the pagan Saracens and things like this that they found on the land. So again, at one point in time, if we're talking about the American Aborigines and it was filled with a certain group of people, and they said to go and conquer these lands and do what you have to do to subdue these people, these pagans and Saracens, then you have to question yourself, who are the pagans and Saracens? And you have to just be real with yourself and look at it literally and use discernment and guess who at this time they were saying were these people. Okay? So hardship, hosts. So again, we're going to look into this. Host is the army. Now we know that the text says that the Lord is a man of war or a warrior, and the Lord is his name. Okay, at some point in this text. Okay. So now we're talking about hosts is the army. So the Lord of the host. Now, does this maybe sound, if we're talking about the Bible, is the Old Testament especially is American history, okay, and the Lord of hosts, and the Lord is a warrior or a man of war, and the host is the army, is what it says right here. Okay, then when are we going to realize what we're actually really talking about here? Okay, so it says most, service, struggle, trained. Again, could we be talking about subdued? Warfare. Okay, and then here it has all of these different things, but army, war, again, construct. That's why I use that term when we're talking about this construct. Okay, that they've put up over us, which is more likely the firmament. Okay, so really probably both. Let's see. Okay, one, army, host. Again, there you go. Okay, so if he's the Lord of hosts, then this was the Lord of these people of war that came here to the lands in order to subdue. Okay, and replenish, meaning there had to be somebody here in the first place if they had to replenish the earth. And it just so happens that the earth represents, like we saw in this same tool here, okay, that the earth is speaking in lots of times here in this text as the inhabitants of a place. And we're going to look at till, and you guys are going to really be shocked as to what we're going to see. Okay, so organized for war again. This is all we're talking about. Again, all of these wars that we've gone through, if you really have eyes to see and ears to hear, you will hear these wars play out in all of these texts that they are showing you right here. And if you really have eyes to see and ears to hear, you will take those dates and you will, anything before the wars, those would have been like more minor wars, okay? Before the 1700s, use your Hebrew calendar, and anything after the 1700s, it's kind of iffy right there. But more likely, when we're talking about the 1800s, use a regular calendar. Look at the dates and see what edicts, what orders were put out. Look at what wars, look at the casualties, look at the places where these wars happen, and you will start to see that they have used some kind of crafty way of speaking of this by using different terms in the biblical text than they use in history. But you'll notice that names and dates and orders and places and people are very similar. They correlate almost exactly in some of these instances. I guarantee you, if you pay attention, you will see it. It's very hard to train the brain to be able to actually see it that way, but again, it for some of us it's just going to happen, okay? So it says over the host as captain. Again, this is what I was trying to tell you. When we're talking about general, you have that term Genesis. So the men of renown, the men of old, they saw that the daughters were beautiful. These are fallen angels, okay? When we're talking about these stars and everything, start looking at your badges of the police. Look at the little trinkets and badges and pins that they give people in the military. Look at the flags of some of these countries and start looking at things in a different light. Just we have to get real here, okay? So get your head out the clouds and bring it back down to earth, okay? So lead out armies. Again, Exodus. Exodus is nothing but they've been caught in history using these terms as the Indian Exodus or the Negro Exodus here in America in history. So again, I'm telling you that this Exodus really has something to do with the Trail of Tears, the Indian Removal Act, and certain things that happen like this. Okay? And it doesn't matter. I can show you, tell you all you want, but it's something that we have to come to on our own. Lead out armies. Again, think about George Washington. Okay? And think about all of the foreign entities that he had under him in a lot of these wars here in America. And we're going to just go over there and look in a second, okay? So army goes forth to war, going with our armies. Again, thou dost renew thine army against me, okay? So host, organized body of angels. Again, host, organized bodies of angels. What did it say up here? Host is the army. So they may have you with some other way to read this text, but I don't need to do all that. I don't need to know what this means. I don't need to speak in Hebrew. This is the thing. When you are connected, okay, when you've given up on all that other stuff, it'll just come to you. And again, I don't have to prove it to anybody. Me going within and coming out, it never going to be knowing everything and never coming all the way out. But me looking at this the way I am, I'm not going to let anyone else, I will let no man deceive me. So again, if someone's going to deceive me, it's going to be me. And that's why I tell you guys, I'm not here to tell you what it is, what it ain't. I'm just sharing what it looked like to me. So you can go ahead, I'm working on this whole thing with Washington, but and in the meantime, you guys can go ahead and look up who the apostles are, or yeah, we can say apostles or the disciples, okay? And then you go ahead and look at those names and compare them to some of these people, that these foreign entities and the other entities that were under or served under Washington, generals, the brigadier generals, or however you pronounce that. Look at some of these people and then look at these names, look at their stories, and compare them to the stories of the people in the Bible, okay? So all the host of heaven, again, these are the host of heaven. That is your God-governing force. That is the God-governing entity of the caste system that presides or resides over us. Okay. the host of the high. Okay, let's see. Sun, moon, and stars. Very important to look at that too. Of the entire creation. D, Genesis 2 and 1. So, over the entire creation. So I guess that's what they're talking about here. But again, everywhere else we're talking about war. So again, we're more than likely talking about war still. Okay? So let's just go back. Okay. Oh, look at this. Also, the commander of his army. Okay. The chief captain. Okay. The commander of his army to Abraham. And we can look at Abraham Lincoln too. Go ahead. Oh, I know she didn't. Yeah. Oh, matter of fact, because his grandfather's name was Abraham. His dad's name was not Abraham, but his grandfather's name was Abraham, Captain Abraham Lincoln, and his grandmama's name was Beersheba or Bathsheba. And they tell in his family genealogy, okay, that her name is spelt all the ways that they give us in reference to the Bible. Okay? So, again, let's keep moving. And the seventh day, God had finished his work he had been doing. So, he finished his work that he had been doing. So, again, he was doing his own work already, creating this thing that he was doing and bringing people over here and taking some of our ancestors from this land and placing them elsewhere. Okay? Columbus also was bringing several American indigenous people back to Spain and different places in order to parade them around and show what he had found every time he came. Okay. And so on that day, he rested from all his work. Again, it's so funny because they talk about George Washington and how he rested at Mount Vernon after he had finished doing whatever he did. And just remember that he would have been a man of renown or a fallen angel or a man of renown or over the fallen angels because he was here prior to there ever being a government as a commander in chief. In the 1500s, I believe, if no, I could be lying about that. 1755, but I think it was even before that that he was here. Okay, they were getting the firmament ready so that the house of God could come and the work could be done. Okay, which is just the system, the construct that's over us, the governing forces. Okay, all right. So let's keep going. Oh, wait a minute. Again, I like to use Bible Hub because they have so many different Bibles here, okay, that you can go ahead and look through here and you can kind of, you know, read through them and see which one do you think is really more close to what, because it doesn't matter if they're all changed like this. If you do the etymology and if you really look deeper, it'll be, you know, it'll come to anyway, okay. So let's see. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. Okay. Because because on that day he rested from all his work of the creation that he had accomplished. Now, let's see. Oh, well, let's just go here. Sanctified. Okay, sanctify or consecrate. Okay, because some of them do say that. Okay, so late 14th century, to consecrate, sanctify, to make holy, holy, to make holy, from altered in English, conform, okay, with Latin meaning render holy or legitimate be by religious sanctions. Again, this sounds kind of like the papal bulls that were going out in the 1400s. You would have to go look them up and see. It's from C 1400 transfer sense of rendered. Okay, holy with respect. Okay, okay. So again, we see what that means. So let's see if we can find something. Days sync. Oh, we'll just say consecrated. Don't mind me if I'm spelling stuff wrong. Google got me. uh oh, okay. That's not good at all. Okay. Okay, see, there we go. Told you. Um let's see, consecrated January, February. Okay. Oh, isn't it February 11th today? Yeah, it is. Don't mean anything. I'm just saying. Okay. Consecrated in America, 1700s. I don't know. We'll just do that. See what if anything happens. History of Christian. Because I already think it's 1776, but we'll just see. Nephi, wait, Christianity is 17th century. Again, oh, what is this? 17th century missionary activity in Asia and the Americas grew strongly, put down roots. Oh, hey, just telling you right there. And developed in institutions through it, met with strong resistance in Japan in particular. At the same time, Christian colonization of some areas outside of Europe succeeded, driven by economic, I'm guessing, something. So, anyways, I mean, it's just basically really telling you right here that this is what we're talking about. But again, they'll have some kind of way to tell you that it's not. But again, to each his own. Native Americans, let's see, because the Spanish were the first Europeans to establish settlements in the mainland in North America, such as St. Augustine, Florida in 1565. Again, definitely these will be talking about the Saracens. I believe that they're definitely talking about the Seminole Indians and those down in that area, which would have been pretty darker view Indians, we'll just say as a general term. The earliest Christians in territory would be eventually become the United States were Roman Catholics. However, the territory that would become the 13th colony. Okay. Okay. Centuries which declared independence in 1776 was largely populated by Protestants. Oh, excuse me. Due to Protestant settlers seeking religious freedom from the Church of England in 1534. Okay, but anyways, I think we're talking about 1776. Anybody else can look at this and see what they think. But again, I do believe even when we're talking about French colonies in Louisiana, I think this is when he's telling the fowl of the air to go in the earth, okay, and fill it, okay, because that is how they replenished it. This is how they were able to change, okay, the way that these people looked. It was the first way of tilling. I feel like that's what they were doing, okay. So again, let's keep going. Okay. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in that day he could. Oh, and then again in the 1700s we would have got our first president. So again, that would have ended his work to a certain extent. Okay. So let's keep going. Then God, the supreme God, magistrate, or superlative. Now again, when we're talking about Genesis, I believe that we're talking about some of your very first president. And it's just so funny that we start talking about Adam right after that, because who was the second president? Was it not Adams? You know what? Let's look up this. Washington. Because you should know. Washington. U.S. Oh, excuse me. That wasn't even me. U.S. Capitol founded 1791, named for President George Washington. That must have been a very powerful man, and you know, in that time, and for him to have his own place named after him, come on, man. He did all this stuff, and he was the head of the military that was able to get the firmament built, and then he became the president after that. Wow. Okay, Wasa. Okay, let's say literally a state of a man named Wasa. Okay, state was named, admitted the union. Okay, let's see, wash, because okay, it means uh, it actually does mean Washington does mean something and have something to do with washing something clean. But since they didn't give it to me there, we're going to go ahead and just look at wash. Okay. Act of washing. Okay. Because again, we know that that's two words put together in a sense. Okay. So wash, act of washing, from wash, clothes set aside to be washed. Again, be careful what you think that we're talking about when we're talking about he clothed them, or how did they know that they were naked, because we're actually really maybe talking about a pigment of skin, and we're maybe talking about the fact that God was able to see they were here to wash, or to uh, purify or make white the people, literally, really. And that I think that when they took that fruit and God came and they hid themselves because they were naked, they were hiding because what they were producing was not washed. It maybe went back, or how they call it, a back formation, from lighter to somewhere darker, where they would know, God would know, okay, what these people had done when he came to check. So if somebody put you in charge of a tribe or something, and they wanted to whitewash this tribe, which I feel like they did with the $5 Indians, um, could you imagine coming back and someone actually, you see that these people that you put here and worked hard to preserve, okay, to produce you a certain stock, you see that the stock is actually going back into darkness, is not coming into the light. Okay, so this would make someone mad. So I don't think we're necessarily talking about that, and we have to just be very careful. Okay, again, we're just questioning everything. Okay. Okay, from wash, we already did that part. And then again, this is in 1789, meaning thin coat of paint. Um, is recorded from 1690, sense of land alternative, wait, that's not even it, alternately covered. Okay, so land alternately covered and exposed by the sea. I mean, we could be talking about that, or we could be talking about something like what I was just talking about. We could be talking about what I just said. Is recorded from mid 15th century, and we already know what God was telling them to do in the fifth day. We do it over and over on this channel, to what? Let the waters teem with the fish and the other life, and let the skies be filled with the birds of every kind. So God created the great sea creatures and every sort of fish and every kind of bird, and God looked at them with pleasure and blessed them all. Multiply and stock the oceans, he told them, and to the birds he said, let your numbers increase and fill the earth, with the exclamation mark. And that ended the fifth day. So again, thin coat of paint. Again, this is what we're talking about. In the evening, it was the first day. In the morning, and they keep saying it over and over again, because these are different portions of the land that were supposed to be producing that light. Okay? So when he came and seen that that wasn't going on in one of these portions, he was pissed. Right? Okay. So let's keep going. Wash, to wash, clean, bathe. This is why we have so many ads, even in antiquities, about them with that pear something, somebody's soap, washing themselves, talking about whitewashing and painting. I shared some stuff with them, painting so-called Black Indian. throwing white paint on them, even using these things to make fun and do blackface. So a lot of this has to do with this stuff, and you guys just can't see it, and you wonder why our minds are so messed up and why we're so lost. It would just take forever to just undo what's been done. To wash water wet. Again, here's the flood. These are your floods. These are the floods. It's a literal sense of a flood, but in a different sense. It's about flooding the earth. What will happen if you take coffee that is black and put milk in it or cream? It gets lighter and lighter and lighter. To wash, okay, uh, water, okay, we already did that. Use mainly of clothes, okay. Again, clothing or a covering, okay, because then you would have to look at clothes or clothing in etymology, and you'll see where we can really be coming from here. To stain, soil, soak, wash, okay. To wash one's hands of something in 1550. To wash up, clean utensils after meals, wash up. Theater slang, okay, whatever. But we just wanted to see what Washington's name means, okay. So we'll go ahead and go in a little bit more. Okay, this is account of the heavens and the earth when they were created. Okay, so again, you know what? If you guys are enjoying this, stay tuned. But I'm going to go ahead and chop this one now so that I don't make these videos too long. And since I'm feeling this and we haven't even really tapped into anything really yet, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up tonight. So I'm going to try to. Y'all know how I get, okay? But let's just get into it. So thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to give the hit the thumbs up, subscribe, or join the Facebook group, American Aborigines Unchained. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care.